Hey, lovely, Serena here. I would like to share an exercise, a very simple exercise with you today. And actually, it's not an exercise, it's more about expanding our awareness more into our lives and the relationships and finding the missing experience in the dynamic of our relationships and life situations. There are some missing experience because of our childhood. We couldn't experience certain things with our parents and caregivers and VIP people who ever lived near to us when we were children. And I also noticed within myself and in my own life and relationships that still the same pattern created through those missing experiences, they still play out in my relationships to some degree. It's less and less, it's softer and softer, but they are still there because these patterns, if we go with somatic processing, they change in the long term. They can change in the long term, but we also have to do the somatic processing. And the first step, of course, of that process is to make it conscious in our lives and relationships. But I want to bring it to you through my own example. So first step, because we are not just sitting at home on the couch inquiring within ourselves and not, as Alina says, like this is integral KI. So we can't just sit at home on the couch and inquire into our shit, just by being by ourselves at home. We have to bring the awareness of inquiry into our lives and relationships. We have to expand that awareness, because the more we are able to expand our awareness and observe ourselves in our relationships, friendships, partnerships, romantic relationships, and life situations, because all these are like recurring situations and relationships that help us to make something more conscious. And if we can make it more conscious in our relationships, then it's easier to bring it into inquiry. Because if we don't do that, we can maybe just miss something, where like very important human particles of this work and this integration that KI can provide to us. So my example, one of the strongest pattern, my strongest pattern is when I feel alone, hurt, and sad, and afraid, like vulnerable, because these are like vulnerable emotions. Then if someone who I trust, so it's someone who is trustworthy in my life, I push them away. Like I have different tactics. Like I just become frustrated, angry, and I push them away if they want to come near to me, because I feel vulnerable and it doesn't feel safe if they step into this, And it, of course, it comes from childhood because whenever I felt this vulnerability, I didn't feel safe with the people who were supposed to take care of me and love me in that, and like giving a support when I had this experience of being alone, afraid, sad, and hurt. Because the same people hurt me. So the people who caused me these feelings inside of me, they weren't able to support me with care and love. And even if they were able to do this, they weren't. But let's say if I just couldn't accept it, How can you accept, like, as a child, I'm thinking with a child's mind, love and care for someone who hurts you? So that's the imprint in my body mind, that whenever I feel this, the experience is that I have to be alone with these vulnerable feelings, with these gentle feelings and deep feelings. And I cannot accept anyone step into this. And if they want to step into this, or if they disregard my feelings, how can they know these feelings if I don't tell them that I feel this way? Anyway, so if they disregard the feelings, or if they are not there, or if they want to be there, I just push them away. Like I become frustrated or a little bit angry, and I just push them away, and I put it on them subtly, and I just push them away. I have the very good friends that they don't go away because they kind of sense something, or they already know me or something. And so this thing happened yesterday again, because of the post-COVID symptoms in my body. The post-COVID symptoms started to trigger something in my body, some feelings, some deep emotions. Because with the post-COVID, this feeling of contraction in the chest and the throat, like kind of burning or something, or lack of breath, these feelings come up. And this is pure somatic. So even if I inquire into it, it doesn't change, you know? It's COVID shit, basically. And up to a point where it just goes into headache also, you know, like tiring symptoms and also like frustrating or anyway. So these things were coming up and it started to trigger something in my body, some remembrance, emotional remembrance in my body. When I was a very small child, I was in hospital. I was a very, very small child, like maybe age of 8, 9, 10. I don't remember exactly, but I got pneumonia, like both side of in my both lungs. And the experience was that I think I almost died in that, you know. I didn't even have the power to drink, you know. I was so weak. I could just lay down, and even like existence felt like effort, like an effort. I was so weak. I was so fucked up, you know. And the experience was that I was alone, and it was triggered in my body through the post-COVID symptoms. I was alone. I was so afraid of dying. Of course, as a child, there was no conscious thought of dying, but I knew that I could die, you know. I was afraid, alone. I was so sad, and there was no one, you know. And I didn't even have the experience for different reasons that, okay, this will finish and I will go back to home, into safety and care, because I just didn't have that experience, you see. So it was just a big dark void, you know, afraid, sad, alone, you know, and there was no one. But because of my past experiences and because of this experience of being alone in that, the missing experience in that is that someone safe, a trustworthy person steps in when I feel that aloneness and sadness and hurt and fear. And they provide love, care, and safety on a physical level and emotional level. So what happened yesterday also, that I felt these things, and my friend, we were on the phone talking, and I said, no, I'm okay. I'm sorry that I was harsh on you, because sorry, it's just irritating, these symptoms and etc. I was explaining, like, you know, I just want to be alone, you know, and you just go to your program that you wanted to go to some, I don't know. And so I sent him away, you know, like a very smart tactic, you know, just to stay alone and etc. And so I was sending him away, a very good friend of mine. And I was at the program. I was doing something. There were a lot of people, and I was like, I just felt that this emotion wants to release. I want to cry. You know, it just wants to release. So I went to a remote park, and I was sitting there on the bench, and I just released the emotions. I was crying, you know, because it was coming up. But this friend of mine also came, you know, and I was like, don't come, I'm okay. But he came anyway, because he felt that I need him or something. And he just came there. I was crying, and he just sit there next to me. He just sat there next to me, holding my back, maybe saying some things I don't remember, like, I don't know. He was just saying something that was soothing for me. And he was just physically there, and physically and emotionally. And I had the missing experience that someone stepped in, that no matter if I feel vulnerable, afraid, sad, hurt, alone, and I'm angry, I try to make myself safe by being angry at myself and them, feel these emotions. And no matter if how intensely I feel it or express it, he's still there. They are still there. The person is still there. You know, like, that's the missing experience. And I put more and more awareness on this missing experience in my life and relationships. But I also noticed that having the missing experience in my life, it's also regulating, transforming also on the human level somehow, but also triggering, still subtly triggering, you know, because for the conditioning in the system, it still feels like a reverse inquiry, if you know what I mean, if you do KI. So having the missing experience is also, and this is why it's important to bring our awareness into it, because then we can make it conscious. Oh, okay, that's the missing experience. And through the missing experience, even if you don't have the missing experience, but you're just realizing that that's it, you can use it as a reverse inquiry in your when you go into somatic processing through inquiry. So you can trigger whatever is frozen or stuck in your body and mind on the level of frozen thoughts and emotions in your body, because it's been stuck and frozen since your childhood, you know, since you haven't had that experience with your parents, because for several different reasons they couldn't provide this for you, and it's different for everyone. I was just sharing my own pattern and experience, you know. So just bringing awareness into your life and relationships, naming the missing experience, the thing that you don't do, you don't give, or you don't accept, or the need that you are not experiencing, that it's met, you know, like in whatever way, you know, like giving and receiving, you know, whatever is missing there, just try to observe it and name it. That's the first part, to make it conscious what it is, and then bring it into inquiry, even if you don't have that experience yet. Like, for example, for me, the reverse inquiry that comes with that experience is that pulling up that person, or you pull up your boss or friend or partner, whoever it is, with who you don't have that experience, or have that experience, but it's still triggering. So you pull up that person, and through my example, I pull up that person and say, I can receive his love and care. For me, it means physical touch, words, presence, stable presence, focusing on me. So I can receive their love and care, or it's safe to receive their love and care. Maybe for you it's something different. Maybe it's with your boss or something. Like, I can stand up for myself and say that I'm not okay with this, because maybe you were a child, someone was harsh on you, and your mom didn't protect you, for example. That's just an example. And so mom didn't come in to protect you and stand up for you, and you are still stuck, and maybe you are a people pleaser because of this, because mom's power didn't come in to teach you how to say no, that's something, set a boundary and say that it's not okay for me. So your inquiry then may be like, I can stand up for myself and say to that person that I'm not okay with that. I can set a boundary. Like, maybe that's your missing experience. And that's a public video, so I don't go any further with that, deeper in that. But if you do KI, if you have a regular practice, and if you already know how to use KI, then you know how to go deeper than that. So that's the first step, making it aware in your relationships, in your everyday life, and then reversing that missing experience. So the frozen emotions, frozen and stuck emotions and thoughts can come up. And if you do KI, you know how to process that, yeah? I just don't want to go deeper than that, because I will share this video on Facebook too. And if you don't know how to do that, then I just trigger the shit in you, and you don't know what to do with that. So for you, if you don't know KI, now maybe you are interested in getting familiar with KI, just making it aware in your life, and it already gives you a relief that that's what I'm missing, that's what's not happening, or that's what's happening, but it's still triggering me. And just making this trigger conscious in your life, that's already a big step, you know. And yeah, somatic processing is necessary. Without this, the pattern cannot change, you know. It was also for me KI that helps to change, make these patterns and triggers more aware within myself, and then process them. Go with the processing, somatic processing, that makes these patterns change in the long term. It's an ongoing process for me also, because there are layers to that. But anyway, I think that's what I wanted to share today. I don't go any deeper than that because it's a public video. But if you do KI, you know, have to bring it into, go back to childhood when you inquire, or on the third dimensional repression and trauma work, KI, you know, have to bring up those commands through the emotions and the energy. But anyway, if you do KI, you already know this. So yeah, I think that's it. That's it for today. Finding the missing experience, making it conscious, bring it into awareness, becoming an observer of your life, of yourself in your life and relationships and situations, naming the missing experience, finding that and bringing it into inquiry, reversing that, and use it to somatically process whatever is frozen and stuck since childhood. Since childhood, these things have been repeating itself. I think that's it. Thank you for listening.